It smells like art class already. I have not smelled oil paint in so long. I don't think you're supposed to huff paint, but... Oh baby, that smells like 11th grade to me. So if it wasn't already readily apparent based on my bangs, neurotic tendency to remake every single video thumbnail about 15 times until it's perfect, and vaguely bisexual vibe, I was an art kid growing up. I took art classes all throughout high school, and I liked art so much, in fact, that I was willing to take those classes despite the fact that they lowered my weighted GPA, which is how you know 16-year-old Ashley really liked something. I actually loved art so much that I wanted to either be an illustrator or a graphic designer for a really long time, but then I decided that art school might be kind of a risky use of money, so I decided to go for something much more practical instead and go to film school. Haha. So let's take a look at my old high school portfolio, shall we? My previous work includes smash hits such as an aggressive number of mediocre still lives, this fish who desperately needs a tampon, a still life of rotting vegetables that I painted with my bare hands. Yes, there were some very strange prompts at my art classes. And this vaguely vaginal flower that is still hanging up at my parents' house today. Now, eventually my senior year when I was taking AP art, I finally stopped getting these random prompts from my art teacher, and we had a little bit more freedom to kind of develop our style and figure out what we actually wanted to make, which was terrifying but exciting at the same time. So I started to develop this style of semi-grotesque surrealist portraits, a lot of which were very sloppily executed thanks to my impending senioritis, but these two, I'll put them here, are actually ones that I kind of like. So that is today the style that I'm going to try to emulate. Ever since I went to college, I've never really had the space or time or honestly desire to get back into art, even though it was something that I kind of knew I would enjoy. I guess I was just too busy doing YouTube and film school and interning and all that shebang to really remember that I have hobbies that used to bring me joy. So today, for your viewing entertainment, I thought I would try to paint for the first time in 3.5 years ever since I left high school. I have no idea how this is gonna turn out. Anyways, this morning I biked over to the Bob Ross merch store, I mean art supply store, and I spent an exorbitant amount of money on a bunch of different oil paints and brushes. Let's unwrap this baby and get painting. Oh. So I've already done a tiny little mock-up of what I want my drawing to look like. It's gonna be like a portrait, but she's wearing kind of like a Victorian collar of roses and vines that are growing on her neck. Very edgy Tumblr girl meets Choke Me Daddy. So I'm gonna flesh out my doodle a little bit more on this canvas before we get started painting. And I've been filming this intro for an hour and a half now because I've just been trying to procrastinate actually having to do this artwork because I'm very nervous about it. But we're gonna get started, for real. Also, sorry if the back of my hair is really ugly. I only ever curl the front bits because I don't really give a shit what the back looks like. So if it's like a nest back there, my apologies. Okay, so my art teacher always scolded us if we ever took a photo on our phone and tried to draw based off of that, because she said that you didn't really get to see the full form and the way the light bounces off objects. I don't know, she said a phone camera didn't capture it properly. I don't know if it's just a weird boomer thing, but I am going to try to make Miss Collins proud and just paint off my face based in this, and just paint off my face based, and just paint my face, oh my god, and just paint my face based off of what's in this mirror. So if you see me making a really, really stupid face, just know that it's because I'm posing for myself in the mirror. Okay, not gonna lie, for not having drawn for 5 years, that's a pretty promising nose already. Not like I've actually painted anything yet, but we're off to a decent start. I'm quickly realizing it is very, very hard to keep my face at this angle and look at myself in the mirror and draw myself on a canvas at the same time because my eyes can only be in one place. But we're making my best attempt. Okay, here we have the finished sketch. I'm not gonna lie, it really doesn't look like me at all. The nose is there. The rest, I'm not super sure. But at least we have a general face-looking shape here. Oh no. Why does this one have diarrhea? I feel like such a legitimate artist with this palette. When I was in high school, we would use 2 styrofoam plates taped together as a palette, so I've never actually used one of these like proper Bob Ross situations. Anyway, I have a strange addiction to watching paint mixing videos on Instagram. It's like visual ASMR for me, it's so good. So here I'm gonna treat you guys to a little paint mixing porn. YouTube, don't demonetize me, please. God forbid, not another one. Oh, I just remembered, I think you're supposed to do this with a palette knife and not with a brush, because I think it's like really bad for the brush, but I don't have a palette knife, so we are going to have to roll with this. This is like trying to match your foundation shade at Sephora, but like 10 times harder. Yeah, that's close. That might be better than my actual foundation shade match. Let's see what we can do. My art teacher always also said that like skin is never one color. It's never just beige, it's never just a pinky tone. There's like a million different colors in the shadows. There's like some blue in some areas under your eyes. There's might be some green in the shadows. So like when you look at yourself in the mirror, you really have to pay attention to all of the different undertones of your skin, which I'm trying to do right now, but probably quite badly. Like this shadow at the edge of my nose is a little bit redder? Question mark? Oh god, I'm just looking like a fucking Fruit Loop now. Necks have always been so hard to paint for me because like, you can tell when a neck looks wrong, but I don't know how to fix it. It's a very like odd shape. Here I'm just going in with a small brush and adding a darker brown to add some detail to the eyes and nostrils. I'm gonna do the eyebrows now, which given the fact that only like 50% of the time I can draw on my own eyebrows properly, is not gonna be promising, but we'll see what I can do. Okay, at this point, I think we have a pretty good start on the face. I know everything is not blended that well, but I generally do like it when you can still see some brush strokes. But I think there's always a fine balance between it looking messy and it looking impressionistic, and I think I lean on the messy side. So we're gonna try to schmooze around with this face a little bit more later. But in the meantime, before my skin colors dry on my palette, I figured I should actually finish up this like décolletage collarbone area, which means it's time for me to strip because your girl needs a reference. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna get painting now and also zoom in so you can't see quite so much of my boobs. Does it kind of look like a rainbow vomited on my canvas after drinking a vanilla milkshake? Yes, but does it also kind of vaguely resemble a neck slash collarbone area? Also yes. I'll go back and smush this around a little bit more to try to fix it later. But in the meantime, I was getting a little bit frustrated, so I am going to move on to an easier and more fun part, which is the hair. This has always been my favorite part to paint because it's just like so free flowing. You get to go like whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Honestly, so far, I have been having a good time. First of all, I like have not gotten out of my head in a long time and just concentrated on physically doing something for a really long time. And it's super nice. Like even normally when I'm editing, I'm at my computer near the internet, so I like get distracted watching YouTube videos and like reloading tweets and shit like that. This is like as close to meditation as my hummingbird of a brain will ever get. So it's been nice. I also thought that I'd be able to listen to music while doing this, but honestly it is taking all of my brain power, so I've just been sitting here in silence for the past 3 hours just like stroking away. That's what she said. 3 hours though. That's some endurance, man. Okay, let's bring you back in for the hair. For my hair color, we're gonna go with mostly burnt sienna and then add a little bit of blue to make things even darker and ashier. Let's see what that gives us. I spent the remainder of the evening munching away on fruit snacks and LaCroix and fussing about with the face area. I spent around 3 hours ultimately making very minute changes, but I think the whole thing in art is that it's like the amalgamation of these tiny final touches that make your thing 5% better than it was before, and then you just kind of keep inching up by 5% over and over and over again until you've made something semi-decent. Here I'm painting the whites of the eyes, but I'm leaving out the pupils because I thought it would have a cool like Billie Eilish when the party's over vibe once I added the vines like creeping out of her tear ducts. Then I tried to smush around the neck a little bit more, but I fear I made it even worse. And finally I went in with a light wash of some pink on her cheeks to add a little rosy blush. And that is a wrap on day 1. Here is how my progress was looking so far. Now on to the next day. So despite leaving my painting in front of a fan all night to dry, I seem to have vastly miscalculated just how long it takes oil paints to dry, which is to say, a very long time, and more time than I have before Thursday comes around and I need to put this video out. So today when I paint on all of my vines and flowers that are going around her face and her neck, I am just gonna take a paper towel and like wipe off whatever wet paint is left in the area that I need to paint over, and then paint over it, and hopefully it won't turn into a giant smudgy disaster. Stay tuned to find out, kids. This feels deeply wrong. Oh boy. Okay, I'm pulling up a reference photo of a rose here. So I'm not gonna lie, this rose was a struggle bus. A struggle rose. I'm not sure if it's just that I was rushing because I had to finish this video, my kind of shitty reference photo, or my complete lack of experience drawing roses, but I just could not, for the life of me, make it look non-blobular. Now originally I had planned to paint around 10 different roses, but given how the first one went, I decided to opt for some structurally simpler plant life. Hi. Okay, so update. I did not think it would possibly be harder to draw flowers than it was to draw a human face, but oh boy, this is difficult. I've been trying to go for flowers that are more naturally like brush strokey, kind of like Bob Ross Happy Little Trees, where you can just kind of like slap them on the canvas. Now I'm gonna try to keep that Bob Ross mindset when it comes to this rose. Let's pretend like it's a happy little mistake, Ashley. The thing that I'm worried about is that, like, compared to the rest of the painting, this rose is so much more flat and amateur that it looks very out of place. So I'm gonna do my best to wipe it off with a paper towel and then paint my hair back over it. And hopefully it'll blend all together and nobody will be the wiser. So I guess here I'll talk about a little bit of the meaning behind my painting. This is gonna sound so cringy and hashtag deep, but here goes nothing. So I guess I've always been attracted to the idea that the things that we're told are beautiful, like physical beauty, success, money, are in fact kind of grotesque behind the scenes. The nights spent prodding and picking at pores or obsessively counting calories, early mornings lost to working until you feel like you're a shell of a person, they're not beautiful. I gave her these pseudo-leafy devil horns and rolled back eyes because I guess in a way she has become her own demon by letting all these quote-unquote beautiful things creep underneath her skin. And that is why I never explain art, because I sound like a Tumblr post in cursive over a stock photo of a sunset. Anyways, here I took the back of my paintbrush and I decided to etch a line down the center of my flowers. Honestly, I wasn't sure if this was gonna look really stupid or not, but it turned out to be a really easy way to add some detail and dimension to my otherwise very plain plants. At this point, I was feeling real inventive, so I also dipped a pencil in some paint and blooped on some tiny white petals. Hello. Okay, I am now in another t-shirt because I think we all saw this coming. I spilled oil paint on my other shirt, so right now it's in the kitchen sink drying off. But anyways, I think I'm like nearly almost kind of satisfied-ish with how this painting is looking. The truth is I'm never gonna be satisfied with it, but I think one of those things in art is like trying to figure out when you're done, because sometimes if you keep going and trying to fix things even more, then it just gets worse and worse. And I was totally guilty of doing that in high school. Like, I would get to a pretty good point and then be like, I could make it 1% better, and then smush around my painting more until it was like a disaster. And there was no Command Z in real life, so then I just ruined like a bunch of paintings by doing that. So anyways, I'm going to try to restrain myself and stop right here. My last step though is gonna be painting in a little background, mostly because I need to cover up the dead body of this X rose that we have in the corner here. I've been staring at this painting for about 10 minutes trying to figure out which color I should paint the background. I think I'm gonna go for a sage green color. Here's some more paint mixing porn. For you dirty, dirty bastards, I know you like it. I've recently become a little bit obsessed with this color because I saw it on so many doors and interior design books when I was in London. It's like a soft, muted green color, which I thought would contrast well with the rest of the painting while still fitting in with our overall like green, pink, pastel color scheme. Oh, this is a good feeling, guys. Like the feeling of having a really loaded brush on a canvas and just like smoothly going around a corner. Art kids know what I'm talking about. That's good. That's some good shit. Next, I went in with a finer brush and maneuvered around my leafy details. Now, originally I was nervous whether the background would look too streaky and messy, but I ended up really liking the texture of the thick paint and the brush strokes weaving around the leaves. And ultimately, that rose really did end up being a happy little mistake. Turns out that the sage green covered it up fine, and I actually liked how that little bit of red popped through near the leaves and added a cool new dimension to my painting. Finally, I painted the edges a light cream color. I felt like the bright white of the plain canvas was fighting for attention with the bright white of the girl's pupils and the flowers and detracting attention from my actual painting, so I just wanted to paint it a slightly darker and more muted color. And last but not least, I am just fussing around with some finishing touches. I decided this one vine looked a little bit too much like a booger, so I decided to cover it up and make it climb down the bottom of her mouth instead. Okay, I think that's it. Here is the finished product. In total, I spent around 12 hours painting this between yesterday and today, and I think it was 12 hours well spent. You know, my painting is not perfect, especially like around the collarbone area. It's a little bit confusing, it's a little bit messy. Her left armpit looks a little bit moldy, but I guess the point of this wasn't to make something perfect, it was just to challenge myself to do something creative and to have a good time. So a couple takeaways from this experience. First of all, I was surprised that my art skills had not completely evaporated in the past 4 years. Part of the reason that I had procrastinated getting back into art for so long is that I had figured that art skill was like playing an instrument or working out, where if you don't use it, you lose it. I was surprised how much of my technique or lack thereof and general style remained the same even while I wasn't creating art for like several years. So I would recommend, like, if you guys are ex-art students as well or just haven't painted or drawn in a while, it's actually not that intimidating to get back into. I think you'll be surprised. Second of all, it has just been really, really nice to make something that I wasn't like afraid that people were gonna judge me for, that I wasn't trying to sell, that I wasn't trying to market in a certain way, and just like make something for the fun of making it. In today's day and age, we are all so fucking busy all the time, and granted, like, you gotta hustle sometimes, but I think there has been a lost art of having hobbies. Like, nobody actually has hobbies anymore, they only have side hustles, and this desire to monetize every single aspect of your personality and your life. Speaking from personal experience, because I have pretty much monetized everything that I loved: fashion, film, myself. Well, I'm not sure I love that, but we're working on it. Ironically, I think I like painting now better than I liked it when I was in high school, because that classic thing happened where when you're assigned something for school, I like started to resent it because I just like have a deep rooted resentment for authority. But now that nobody's telling me to do it, like, I feel that pure excitement to make something again. So yeah, I think I'm actually gonna keep painting, like on the weekends and on my free time. Whatever free time I have available, which is not that much, but I'm gonna make it so that I can paint and enjoy my life. If you have any old hobbies or old passions that you used to love but you've let go because everything in your life is stressful now, I would recommend, you know, diving back into it. I had a good time doing it, and I think you guys will as well. Wholesome. Okay, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next week. Bye.